Hi, my name's Hague, and this is me pitching my final major project. So to start with, I'll give some context on what the project is and how I think it will affect my future, how it will be useful to me, and what I'll be doing in the next 9 to 11 weeks. So my project will be a mix of recording, production and engineering. I've created lots of instrumentals in my pastime. That's kind of what I enjoy doing. And I will be producing the tracks and overseeing the final product of how they turn out. The recording of the vocals on the tracks, which will be also done by myself, and the mixing and mastering process as well. The way I want to present this work will probably be, well, it will be as a EP on SoundCloud, and I will be aiming for 3 to 4 complete songs. And I'm more than happy to go over this amount, and if I do so, it will also be documented on the website. Yeah, as I mentioned, my name is Hague. I'm working to become an artist, a producer and an engineer, and I quite enjoy the idea of doing little bits of everything. That's what I want to do with my career in music. I don't really want to be confined to one thing. So I think this project is very useful for my future, just to be able to do everything and be able to display my skills in different processes of making music, even the engineering side and the recording, and the creative side of it with the producing and beat making and that sort of stuff. So yeah, in the future I'll be releasing music under my own name, performing and making money as my own entity, and which is somebody I look up to who does similar stuff like this is Travis Scott. Yeah, lots of production work, bringing our artist's musical vision to life, similar to Kanye West. And on the technical side, I want to be trusted to develop good mixes and have the music ready for release. Somebody who I like in this role is Mike Dean. He does lots of work with Travis and Kanye and these sort of people. Yeah. So I'll go into the research now as well. So before each phase begins, which is how I've broken down my project, I'll be looking at different YouTube videos, blogs, forums and interviews, just to see how people are doing their recording, their producing and their mixing, learning from people who are experienced in these fields, and anything will be documented on the website too. Yeah, so going into a bit more detail on these different research tasks, I'll be looking at a lot of vocal treatment and performance techniques for the recorded side of it, and for the mixing, I'll be looking at lots of vocal processing, and I'll probably look into some more notable figures in the mixing scene like Mike Dean and Noah Goldstein, and I'll be using some of their techniques and some of their chains, and I'll be learning what they do to get a good mix and how their workflow as well. When it comes to the production side of it, which goes along with the recording, I'll be listening to a lot of music and just see kind of arrangements, a lot of theoretical techniques for that too. So, what problems do I expect to encounter, and what will I do about them? Firstly, I expect to have a lot of technical problems. This is something I've had a lot of problems with in the past. You know, simple stuff like broken cables, microphones not working, and issues with the DAW. This is common issues to every music producer, so I'm quite used to that. So the way I've kind of worked around the issue of broken gear and stuff not working is I've got a lot of backup gear that I can use in the event that I have any issues with one or another, and I've also spent a couple of weeks getting to grips with these problems before the project starts, just to kind of get used to how to solve these problems before we begin with the final project. Yeah, another one which isn't related to music as such, but I've not been very well and unable to attend college, and the way I'm going to kind of, if I have to work around that, it will be that I've set up a makeshift recording studio from home, and this includes all the basics, which is a mic, a DAW setup, different sort of mixing gear, such as the SSE channel, compressors, that sort of stuff. And I've got my mic set up there too as well. Sorry. Yeah, I think I'll leave that on there. That stuff isn't so important. So moving on to the planning and production, I'll be breaking my project down into phases, as I mentioned before, and I like this approach because it allows me to be sort of more broad strokes rather than very specific about how I want to go about the next couple of weeks, and that's just because my workflow is a little bit sort of mismatch. But as long as I have the general kind of idea of what I'll be doing in those phases. It will hopefully give me enough structure to kind of be more flexible with what I'm doing day to day, and I'll be documenting that process if anything changes too. So yeah, as I mentioned before, a lot of the research of the project will be done at the beginning of all the phases, and this will be the stuff that I've mentioned before. So phase 1 and 2 will be the entire bulk of the production and the recording. I'll be documenting the process of the idea generation. So this is stuff like demo vocals, how the beats are sounding before. I'll be adding a lot to my website to show, the mumble sort of takes, which is how I come up with the ideas. Freestyles, that sort of stuff. Early versions of tracks and demos and that sort of stuff. And I'll be getting lots of peer feedback here in phase 1, ready for phase 2, which is where I'll be doing a lot more recording as well. So by the end of phase 2, all the production and recording should be finished, ready for the mixing and mastering of stage 3. And I'll obviously be doing documentation there at the beginning. A lot of this mixing will hopefully take place in the college on Pro Tools if everything goes to plan. And here as well, I'll be getting lots of feedback from my peers in the college who have an understanding of mixing, and hopefully to get sort of a different opinion on how things are sounding, and even people who might not be so familiar with the genre that I work in. Hopefully they can give me a different perspective of mixes. Yeah, to help myself with the time management, since this is something I have had a problem with in the past, I've allowed myself the additional 2 weeks of the beginning of April to carry on with the project. So I described this in the action plan, which I'll show you too. Phase 4, which I haven't touched on yet, will be the final kind of finishing pieces of the project. I want to make sure I have a finished product with a cover and a well-ordered track list. It has to be mastered by this point and ready to upload to SoundCloud. And at this point, all the documentation should be finished. And here's my action plan, which I'll quickly break down for you. It's quite simple, just to make things a little bit clearer. Phase 1 is the recording and production part 1. Phase 2 will be looking at the recording and production again, that's part 2. Phase 3 will be looking at mixing and mastering tracks. And phase 4, I'll be preparing and finally presenting the tracks. Do I need to break down like kind of the duration? Is that important?
No, we can talk about that afterwards if you like.
Yeah. Sorry. 5, so this is the practical skills and what I'll need to kind of fully realise the potential of the project. So to begin with, what will I need for the production and recording phases? So mainly musical skills, and this is on the production side. Theory skills, including how to put a track together. General music theory skills. Production skills, arrangement and sound design, and how I can kind of create a whole track from just an idea to a whole finished piece. In terms of the DAW skills, I need to be able to understand how to record in my DAW, editing vocals and using a mic, and the more in-the-box sort of skills. Setting up, which I need to know how to, get my microphone ready for recording, the input into the interface, and setting the gain and getting a good level, because you want to get that right before you really start doing it too much in the box, because it will allow for the best possible takes. And then performance skills, how will I warm my vocals up ready for singing and rapping as well? What skills will I need for the mixing phases? I definitely need to be able to combine navigating the mixer and arrangement windows and editing tracks and volume automation. I need to be able to do this nice and fast to allow myself to finish that in the time of phase 3. And also how to use effects and technical skills. So this is stuff like EQ, compression, distortion, reverb and delay, leveling, panning, and just the general sort of effects you'd use to process your music. Obviously I can do a lot of research on this too. In the past, I've sort of developed a couple of skills, especially this year, which is performance skills during Unit 9. This was in a studio environment where I recorded my own vocals, so I will have also have used rehearsal skills in the box, like mixing and editing the vocals. In Unit 10, I looked extensively into mixing vocals, researching common techniques and effects used, and some famous vocal chains, which I looked a lot into detail into a guy called Alex Tomei. He does a lot of mixing in the genre that I enjoy. and I've really been studying on how he produces the best possible vocals. A couple of things I'll need. I'll break this down quite quickly. Obviously I need my DAW. I'm going to go with FL Studio for my production and recording, and Pro Tools for my mixing. Microphone setup, the stand, the microphone itself, and a pop filter. XLR cables, which goes without saying. A space to record. I'll mainly be using hopefully the college and my recording space at home. I'm going to need some peers for feedback, obviously. I'm going to try and get a nice mix of people so that I can see a lot of different perspectives of people who have intricate knowledge of musical skills, so they can give me a more specific feedback, and also people who just enjoy music, because they'll be able to tell you in the wider opinion and mindset of people who just listen to music casually. Photoshop, I'll probably need to create my own album cover, and I enjoy doing this too, and SoundCloud for the final product. So lastly, this is the evaluation and reflection stage. The way I'll be evaluating myself at the end of each phase, and I can talk about what I've done well in this phase and what I can do better moving on, to allow myself to be self-aware about how I can do things better, and allow myself to get that sorted before I move on. Yeah, at the end of the whole project, I can look back at the project proposal and the original end goal I've set myself, and reflect on that and how well I've achieved my goal that I set out to achieve, and what would I do differently if I was to redo the project, and how I can be more successful moving forward based off these skills and sort of task I've set myself in the final project. If any of the changes to the action plan are made, I can reflect on this at the end of each phase too, and I can talk about if they were generally positive and efficient, or if the change ended up being negative to my project. Thank you very much.